Namo Buddhaya, the Satasahasrika Prajnaparamita Sutram, the large Sutra on Perfect Wisdom, the chapter 75th, the exposition of imperturbability. Subhuti. If absolutely no being is apprehended, nor the concept of a being, for the sake of whom does the Bodhisattva develop perfect wisdom? The Lord, having made the reality limit into a standard, a Bodhisattva courses in perfect wisdom. If the reality limit were one thing and the being's limit another, a bodhisattva would not course in perfect wisdom. But since the reality limit is not one thing and the being's limit another, therefore the bodhisattva courses in perfect wisdom for the sake of beings. Coursing in perfect wisdom, the bodhisattva, without upsetting the reality limit, establishes beings in the reality limit. Subhuti. If the reality limit is the being's limit, how then can one establish the reality limit in the reality limit? If the reality limit were actually established in the reality limit, then own being would be actually established in own being. But own being is not established in own being. How then does the Bodhisattva coursing in perfect wisdom establish beings in the reality limit? The Lord. The reality limit is not established in the reality limit, nor own being in own being. Nevertheless, the Bodhisattva, through his skill and means, established the being's limit in the reality limit without upsetting the reality limit. And yet, the reality limit is not one thing and the being's limit another. In fact, they are not torn nor divided. Subhuti. What is the skill and means of the Bodhisattva endowed with which he established coursing in perfect wisdom beings in the reality limit, but without upsetting the reality limit? The Lord. Here the Bodhisattva coursing in perfect wisdom from the first thought of enlightenment onward established beings in giving. When he has done so, he considers that gift at the beginning, end, and middle. Just as the gift is empty at the beginning, end, and middle, so is its fruit. And so are the donor and recipient. In this way, all these objects do not really exist in the reality limit. Do not imagine that the gift is one thing, its fruit another, the donor another, and the recipient another. If you do not imagine these things, then your gift will become deathless and terminate in the fruit of deathlessness. But do not, through this gift, take hold of any of the skandhas. And why? Because this gift is empty of a gift, its fruit is empty of a fruit, and also the donor is empty of a donor, and the recipient empty of a recipient. For the emptiness, no gift can be apprehended, no its fruit, no donor, and no recipient. And why? Because absolutely these dharmas are empty in their own being. Moreover, the Bodhisattva coursing in perfect wisdom establishes beings through his skill and means in morality. Come here, son of good family, having forsaken the taking of life, do you become one who abstains from the taking of life, etc. To having forsaken wrong views, for do you become one who abstains from wrong views? There exists in these dharmas no such own being as you have imagined. Investigate, therefore, the dharmic facts when you rob living beings of life, or consider that by which you rob them of their life. And this should be done up to wrong views. Endowed with this skill and means, the Bodhisattva who courses in perfect wisdom matures beyond. He describes the fruit of that gift of morality, but he knows that they are both empty in their own being. Having known these fruits to be empty, he doesn't settle down in them, and he produces first non-distraction and then wisdom. Through that wisdom, he cuts off all unwholesome tendencies and all obsessions, and then enters the realm of nirvana, which leaves nothing behind, but by way of worldly convention and not in ultimate reality. And why? Because in emptiness no dharma can be apprehended which enters in final nirvana, or which is made to enter it. For in fact, absolute emptiness is his final nirvana. Moreover, the Bodhisattva, on having seen other beings and persons who have angry and hostile thoughts, instructs and admonishes them as follows. Come here, son of good family, perfect yourself in passions, develop passions, and become a tolerant person. He who has ill will, and which makes you have ill will, that towards which you have ill will, all these dharmas are empty of an essential nature. Do therefore investigate him who has ill will, him towards whom he has ill will, and that which causes him to have ill will. And you will find that all these dharmas are empty of an essential nature. But the emptiness of essential nature is never not emptiness. It has not been made by the Tathagatas nor by the Pratika Buddhas or disciples of Bodhisattvas or gods, Nagas, etc., to the gods of the station of neither perception nor non-perception. Do therefore investigate him who feels ill will, him toward whom you feel ill will, or that thereby you feel ill will, and you will find that all these dharmas are empty of an essential nature. For emptiness doesn't feel ill will towards anyone. It is thus that the Bodhisattva courses in perfect wisdom, through this skill and means, enjoins the emptiness of essential nature upon beings, both as regards the cause and as regards the fruit. As a result, he encourages them to gradually win the supreme enlightenment and establish them in it, and that again by way of worldly convention and not in ultimate reality. And why? Because in the emptiness of essential nature there is no one who could attain, nothing through which he could attain, and not anything which he could attain. This is the reality limit, the emptiness of essential nature, wherein the Bodhisattva courses in perfect wisdom for the sake of beings, although therein he apprehends no being or the concept of a being. And why? Because all dharmas have nothing to do with beings. Moreover, the Bodhisattva who courses in perfect wisdom sees beings of inferior vigor and full of sloth, and with his skill and means he encourages them to physical and mental vigor. In the emptiness of essential nature, a son of good family, in this exists no losing of heart on the part of any dharma, that about which he might lose heart, or whereby he would lose heart, or he who would lose heart, as all these dharmas do not stray away from the emptiness of essential nature. Do generate mental and physical vigor, avoid indolence, and exert yourself in wholesome dharmas, whether by way of giving, etc., to by way of all Buddha dharmas. All those dharmas, O son of good family, you should see as unabstracted because of their emptiness. For in unabstracted dharmas there exists no losing of heart on the part of any dharma. It is thus that the Bodhisattva coursing in perfect wisdom by his skill and means encourages beings to the emptiness of essential nature, settles and establishes them in it, and he established them in such a way that no duality exists therein. And why? Because the emptiness of essential nature is not two nor divided, and non-dual dharma cannot lose heart anywhere. Moreover, the Bodhisattva who courses in perfect wisdom instructs and admonishes beings in vigor by way of the emptiness of essential nature. Come here, son of good family, exert vigor, whether by way of giving, etc., to by way of eating special Buddha dharmas. But do not attend to these dharmas from duality or from non-duality. And why? Because these dharmas are the emptiness of essential nature, and that should not be attended to from either duality or non-duality. It is that the Bodhisattva who courses in perfect wisdom and who, through his skill and means, courses on the pilgrimage of a Bodhisattva matures beings. Having done so, he gradually establishes them in the fruit of his true meaning, etc., in the supreme enlightenment. Moreover, the Bodhisattva who courses in perfect wisdom through his skill and means instructs and admonishes beings whose thought is distracted. Come here, son of good family, and develop transic concentration. May you not become one who has notions about either distraction or concentration. And why? Because these dharmas are the emptiness of essential nature, and in the emptiness of essential nature, no dharma can be apprehended which could either be distracted or become one-pointed. When you have stood in this transic concentration, whatever wholesome root you may bring about by body, voice, or mind, whether by your giving of gifts, etc., by your purification of the Buddha field, all these wholesome dharmas will become manifest in you with little trouble when you course in the emptiness of essential nature. It is thus that the Bodhisattva who courses in perfect wisdom works the will of beings through his skill and means. Ever after he has had his first thought of enlightenment, he always performs good works and constantly seeks for what is wholesome while working the will of beings. He constantly passes on from Buddha field to Buddha field, and there honors the Buddhas and Lords, and the Dharma which he hears from those Buddhas and Lords, that he never forgets again until he has won the supreme enlightenment, even after he has passed beyond this present birth, he is constantly and always in possession of the dharanis, and his faculties are always complete, whether they be physical, vocal, or mental. And why? Because he has constantly and always well developed the knowledge of all modes, and in consequence, all the paths become well developed, the paths of the disciples, practical Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas. The super knowledges of that Bodhisattva will constantly and always be used to benefit others, because they are never lost. Having stood in these super knowledges, which result from the maturation of deeds, he works the will of beings and doesn't avoid samsara with its 5 places of rebirth. It's that the Bodhisattva, who courses in perfect wisdom, having stood in the emptiness of essential nature, works the will of beings through his skill and means. When he has well developed that perfection of wisdom, he instructs and admonishes beings as follows: Come here, son of good family, whatever deeds you may do by body, speech, mind, all that you should consider as empty or essential original nature, and then they will lead to a deathless fruit and terminate in the deathless. For in the emptiness of essential original nature, one cannot apprehend any dharma which one could destroy or diminish. And why? Because the emptiness of essential nature cannot be diminished, nor can any dharma be diminished in the emptiness of essential nature. And why? Because the emptiness of essential nature is neither an existent nor a non-existent. How can anything be diminished if all dharmas have non-existence of own being? It is thus the Bodhisattva who courses in perfect wisdom instructs and admonishes beings through his skill and means, and when he instructs and admonishes them in such a manner, he never ceases to do good works. Constantly and always he himself observes the 10 wholesome paths of action, and also others he encourages to observe them, etc. He himself produces the paths to supreme enlightenment, and also others he instructs in that path, admonishes them to tread it, exhort them to it, disciplines them, and establishes them in it. It is thus that the Bodhisattva, when he courses in perfect wisdom through his skill and means, is never one who doesn't know deeds. Subhuti. If all dharmas are empty of essential nature, and if the emptiness of essential nature, no being can be apprehended, no dharma and no non-dharma, how does the Bodhisattva set out for the knowledge of all modes? The Lord. So it is Subhuti, as you say, empty of essential nature are all dharmas, and in the emptiness of essential nature, no being can be apprehended, no dharma and no dharma. If, however, all dharmas were not empty of essential nature, then the Bodhisattva could not be established in the emptiness of essential nature, nor could he earn heaven one full enlightenment of straight dharmas as empty of essential nature. The skandhas are actually empty of essential nature. Therefore, the Bodhisattva, when he courses in perfect wisdom, demonstrates dharma to the effect that the 5 skandhas are empty of essential nature, etc., that the forsaking of all defilements together with their residues is empty of essential nature. If again the inward emptiness were not empty of essential nature, then the Bodhisattva would not demonstrate dharma to the effect that all dharmas are empty of essential nature, and so for the other kinds of emptiness. Because if he did, the emptiness of essential nature would have been destroyed, but the emptiness of essential nature cannot be destroyed, nor does it overtower all change, nor again does it depart at some future time. And why? Because it doesn't stand in any spot or place, it doesn't come from anywhere, nor does it go to anywhere. That is the stability of Dharma, in which one can apprehend no accumulation or removal of any Dharma, no diminution or growth, no production or stopping, no defilement or purification. And that is the essential nature of Dharmas, in which the Bodhisattvas have stood when they set out for the supreme enlightenment. And yet they do not review the settling out any Dharma, setting out of any Dharma, no, it's setting out. No, it's not setting out. Because no Dharma has set out or has stood anywhere. This is the dharmic stability of dharmas. Therefore, the Bodhisattva who courses in perfect wisdom and who has seen all dharmas empty of essential nature does not turn back on the supreme enlightenment. And why? Because reviewing non-obstruction to any dharma, he reviews all dharmas as unobstructed. So how can he have doubts about the supreme enlightenment when in this emptiness of essential nature no being can be apprehended, etc.? So one should consider all inward and outward dharmas up to the 80 accessory marks. the non-duality of dharmas. Just as if the fictitious magical creation of a Tathagata were to demonstrate the dharma to another fictitious magical creation, be it a monk or a nun, a layman or a laywoman, continuously for endless eons. What do you think, Subhuti? Would those fictitious magical creations be capable of attaining the fruit of extreme winner in Sataratu Supreme Enlightenment? Subhuti, no, O Lord, and why? Because they would have no objective basis for that, Lord. So with this, Subhuti, so it is when all dharmas have no objective basis, what is that being whom the Bodhisattva could exhort to win the fruit of extreme winner in Sataratu Supreme Enlightenment? And so all that he actually does is to exhort people who are enveloped in perverted views and exhort them to non-perversion and establish them in it. And that perversion is in any case just a non-perversion, because it has issued from nothing but through thought constructions. For non-perversion is free from all discriminations. Where there is no perversion, there is no self, no being, etc., no enlightenment. And where there is no form, etc., no enlightenment, that is the emptiness of essential nature, dwelling in which the Bodhisattva course in perfect wisdom frees being subject to the perversions from the notion of a being, from notions about things with and without form, etc., from all dharmas without laws. As to the dharmas without outflows, the four applications of mindfulness, etc., to 18 special Buddha dharmas, they also do not exist therein, such as they are in ultimate reality. The unconditioned, non-production, non-existence, non-manifestation, that is the emptiness of essential nature. That is the enlightenment of the Buddhas and Lords, and in which there is no being, etc., in which there are not the 80 accessory marks. For the Bodhisattva doesn't, by means of the path set out for the Supreme Enlightenment, except for the sake of the full comprehension of the emptiness of essential nature. And that emptiness of essential nature is emptiness of essential nature at the beginning, at the end, and in the middle. And it is never not the emptiness of essential nature. Therefore, the Bodhisattva who courses in perfections, which are the emptiness of essential nature, courses in the knowledge of all modes of the path, in order to free from all notions those beings who have formed the notion of a being. When he courses in the knowledge of all modes of the path, he courses in all the paths, that is, that of the disciples, practical Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And that Bodhisattva, after he has fulfilled all the paths, matured beings, purified the Buddha field, and sustained himself on the factors which make for a long lifespan, fully knows the Supreme Enlightenment. He doesn't cut short the guide of the Buddhas, the emptiness of essential nature. And this emptiness of essential nature is the Buddha guide of the Buddhas and Lords who have been in the past period, of those who will be in the future period, and also of those who just at present in the world system in the 10 directions stand, hold, and maintain themselves. And apart from this emptiness of essential nature, no manifestation in the world of the Buddhas and Lords takes place. It is in their presence that the Bodhisattva should course in the perfections which are the emptiness of essential nature, in such a way that he doesn't lose the knowledge of all modes. Subhuti, it is wonderful, O Lord, that the Bodhisattvas should course in dharmas which are all empty of essential nature, and yet do not upset this emptiness of essential nature by assuming that form is one thing and the emptiness of essential nature another. And so up to the enlightenment, form is just the emptiness of essential nature, thus the emptiness of essential nature is form, and so up to enlightenment. Lord, if form, etc., were one thing and the emptiness of essential nature another, and if form, etc., were not empty of essential nature, then the Bodhisattva could not know the Supreme Enlightenment. But it is because form, etc., to enlightenment are empty of essential nature that the Bodhisattva, having known all dharmas as without essential nature, knows the Supreme Enlightenment. And why? Because therein, in the emptiness of original nature, no dharma is destroyed, none overtowers all change, and none departs at some future time, except for the fact that the world, with its gods, Maras, and Brahmas, deludes itself into thinking that this is form and this is form, I am form, mine is form, etc. To this is consciousness, I am consciousness, mine is consciousness. having settled down in form, etc. These beings course in eye-making and mind-making, and as a result they settle down in inwards and outwards entities. Having settled down in them, they will upon rebirth grasp in the sense fields and the five skandhas. They are not such as are set free from birth, old age, death, sorrow, lamentation, sadness, and despair, not from samsara, which is with its five places of rebirth. Therefore, the Bodhisattva courses in the perfection, which are the emptiness of essential nature, doesn't upset form, etc., by assuming that it is empty or not empty. And why? Because the emptiness of form, etc., doesn't upset form, etc., by assuming that this is form, etc., this is the emptiness of form, etc., just as space doesn't upset space, in inward space doesn't upset the upward space, and as outward space does not upset inward space, does so form, etc., does not upset emptiness, nor does emptiness upset form, etc. And why? Because they have no own being, which could be upset by assuming that this is form, etc., and this is emptiness. Subhuti. If all dharmas are on vast undifferentiatedness, how can the Bodhisattva, after he has set out for the supreme enlightenment, ever know that he fully knows it? For enlightenment causes no divisions, nor can anyone who causes divisions fully know the supreme enlightenment, the Lord. So it is, Subhuti, so it is. No one who courses in duality can have enlightenment, nor does enlightenment cause divisions. For enlightenment, it is not two nor divided. The enlightenment of a bodhisattva doesn't course inside divisive concepts as enlightenment or enlightenment being. And the enlightenment of a bodhisattva doesn't course in form, etc. to enlightenment. And why? Enlightenment knows nothing of I or mine, and as in I shall course in form, mine is form, etc. to I shall course in enlightenment, mine is enlightenment, nor does the enlightenment of a bodhisattva course in taking up or in not taking up. Subhuti. If a bodhisattva's enlightenment doesn't course in taking up or in not taking up, wherein then does it course? The Lord. What do you think, Subhuti? Does the enlightenment of the Tathagata's magical creation course in taking up or in not taking up? Subhuti. No, it doesn't, the Lord. The Lord. What do you think, Subhuti? Does the intellect of an arhat who is dreaming course in taking up or in not taking up? Subhuti. No, it doesn't, the Lord. On the other hand, since absolutely the arhat is not asleep, how could his intellect during his sleep course in taking up or in not taking up, the Lord? It is just so that a bodhisattva's enlightenment doesn't course in taking up or in not taking up. Subhuti. If a bodhisattva doesn't course in taking up or in not taking up, nor in form, etc., to the knowledge of all modes, it is not so that the bodhisattva, having coursed in the 10 stages and having stood in the 6 perfections, etc., to the 5 superknowledges, purifies the Buddha field, matures being, and fully knows the knowledge of all modes. For it is not possible to fully know the supreme enlightenment without having stood on the 10 stages or in the 6 perfections, etc., in the 5 superknowledges, and without having entered a bodhisattva's special way of salvation, having purified the Buddha field, and having matured beings. The Lord. So it is, Subhuti, so it is, as you say. It is not possible to fully know the knowledge of all modes without having fulfilled the 10 stages, the 6 perfections, etc., to the 5 super knowledges, and without having fulfilled the condition of being undiluted and of always dwelling in even-mindedness. But when one has stood in the essential nature of form, etc., to enlightenment, then one is able to attain the knowledge of all modes. And that essential nature is quite calm, it is not, and it doesn't affect with regard to any dharma, an accumulation of removal, a production or stopping, a defilement or purification, an attainment or a reunion. The cognition of dharmas is merely conventional symbols. It is therefore an account of what is dramatically a concept due to worldly convention that the bodhisattva fully knows the supreme enlightenment. But in ultimate reality, there is not anything that is form, etc., to enlightenment, and there is no one who courses in enlightenment. All these dharmas have been conceived on account of convention and not by way of ultimate reality. And in consequence, that bodhisattva who, from the first thought of enlightenment onwards, courses towards enlightenment, doesn't apprehend those thoughts, as well as no beings or enlightenment, no Buddha or bodhisattva. What do you think, Subhuti? At the time when Subhuti had forsaken the view of individuality, had acquired the 5 cardinal virtues, had attained the unimpeded concentration or the fruit of extreme winner, etc., to arhatship, Had on that occasion a dream been apprehended, or a thought of a path or a fruit? Subhuti, no, I learned. Had you then, Subhuti, attained arhatship when you announced that you had won the final saving gnosis? Subhuti, yes, by way of worldly conventions. Lord, so it is Subhuti, through worldly convention has the Bodhisattva been conceived, and so has form, etc., to knowledgeable modes. But the Bodhisattva has not apprehended any dharma of which he could effect an accumulation of removal, a benefit or harm on account of the essential nature of dharmas. And the dharmic nature of dharmas has not been apprehended. How much less could one apprehend the first thought of enlightenment, etc., to the 10th stage, etc., to the Buddha dharmas? That cannot possibly be. It is thus that the Bodhisattva works the will of beings after he has coursed in the supreme enlightenment and fully know it. This is the end of 75th chapter of the large sutra on perfect wisdom, the Satasahasrika Prajnaparamita Sutram.